Yes, ma'am, I'm ready.
Okay.
Whether
Before
my voice is
yeah,
audible?
yeah, your voice is audible. And before starting your presentation, I would like to inform all the attendees. Please keep mute your mic. And if you have any query, any question regarding the presentation, you can write your question in the chat box. Okay, we will take all the question and query at the end of the presentation. So, Ashwini, you can start.
Thank you, ma'am. Um, Good evening, one and all present here. I hope all of you can hear me. If it is network is not good or it is interrupted, you can interrupt me at any time and inform me. And today, I am here to explain about environmental taxation, which means you may wonder it or not. This is the only thing which gonna save the future world from the global warming and other climate change aspects. Let us see how. Before that, we should know how our economy works actually. We are following a linear economy. It means that we are taking resources from the Mother Earth, making them into a products, and stacking up the world with a lot of waste. So waste is generated too much. This growth actually drains the natural resources completely, and for producing each product, more amount of carbon dioxide is being emitted into the atmosphere either directly or indirectly. So it is better to shift, or the better solution would be to follow the circular economy. It means that the waste we are disposing could be alternatively used as some other products, so that the creation of new products and the carbon dioxide emitted from each individual products would be lessened. And we are staying in a globe or in a earth or in a country where taxes on people and lower class middle people is taxed very much, but on the products we are buying the taxes is very low. This is the reason why the people who are doing business or entrepreneurs are going to buy the machines as to do their work instead of hiring the worker. This should actually a balance. This should be a balance, and it should be balanced very well in with the means of environmental taxation. And when these both the taxes, that means the taxes on the people and taxes on the products are balanced, we could solve more of the environmental problems, and the major problem in the world, the unemployment, could also be solved very well. Let us go deep into our topic. Before that, we should know what is actually a tax. A tax is nothing but a compulsory financial charge paid by us to the government, who spend those on social expenditures, etc. In general, taxes are classified as direct taxes and indirect taxes. Direct taxes is that we pay directly to the government. For example, we gain a certain amount of income, and a certain percentage is given to the government for social expenditures. And there are other type of taxes such as indirect taxes, where we directly do not pay any taxes, but when we purchase a product, certain amount, like it is included as VAT taxes, which is paid by us to the producer, and the producer pay it to the government. And there are major kinds of direct and indirect taxes, such as income tax, capital gains tax, etc. And in indirect taxes is also sales tax, service tax. But after the introduction of the GST, few of the indirect taxes has been consolidated. But our focus is mainly on the excise duty, because this is the major concern of the environmental taxation, and how it will be discussed in the upcoming slides. First, what is an environmental taxation? It is the tax levied on the activities that are harmful to the environment. By the term environment, I clearly mentioned that our focus is only on the gaseous products, and the ultimate effect by the environment means, I mean by the atmosphere. It is neither the terrestrial environment nor the aquatic environment. We are focusing just on the atmosphere, the gaseous products. And what is the need of the eco tax in such a situation? Because it could actually promote the green growth and discourage the consumers of buying the product which emit more carbon dioxide into the environment, and in turn, it would encourage the producers also to find an alternative procedures or a solution to come up with better products with a lesser carbon dioxide emission way. Besides that, there is an important reason and a need of the eco taxation in the need of the heart, that is the greenhouse effect and the global warming. As we know, greenhouse effect is warming that happens when certain gases, as we see, water vapor, carbon dioxide, and nitrous oxide, methane, and chlorofluorocarbons. These gases trap different amount of heat from the Earth atmosphere and keep within them. But actually, whether this greenhouse effect is bad, of course not, because this is the only reason our Earth is warmer. And if it was completely absent, our Earth would have been cooler, and it was calculated by a great scientist called Joseph Fourier. Not only the human, actually natural resources itself emit these gases into the atmosphere from the volcanic eruptions and variations in the solar radiations from the sunspots. They release their gases, but for thousands of years we could see that greenhouse gases and absorbed or emitted both were in the balance. But we, the human, enhance those greenhouse gases that are being emitted into the environment, which in turn causes many problems like it could affect the ocean, the weather patterns, the food, and the health. For example, coming to the ocean, we may see that there are ice sheets in Antarctica and Greenland. When the temperature is keep on increasing, these ice sheets or Iceland are about to melt, and the extra waters that are about to going to be flooded in the land surface, which low-lying countries like Florida will ultimately will be more affected because of this change. And coming to the change in the weather pattern, you might think that changes in the weather pattern means it could cause more rainfall or irregular pattern of rainfall, but it might result in an extreme drought where we might be stuck up and could not be overcome from that point. And coming to the food sources, it would be difficult for growing crops in such extreme high temperatures for us, and there will be lot amount of biodiversity loss, and animals would shift from one place to the another. So getting food sources will be a very difficult. And following, we could have as a human, we would face more health problems also. But in urban areas, you will be seeing that there are more amount of smog because due to the carbon dioxide emitted from the industries or vehicles, etc. When we inhale smog, it contains an ozone particles which would cause lung diseases, or ultimately it could lead to death also. So these global warming is a major concern, and we should take this point very seriously and to find a solution to combat these problems. Here's a pie chart showing that the world's 20 largest carbon emitting countries. Here, China stands the first with about 28% and followed by United States and India. Here, this graph shows in million tons. China alone emits greater than 10,000 million tons of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere, followed by US and India. We know, of course, China and India are the two most populous countries, and China emits more amount of carbon dioxide because China is actually a producing country where they export more, where they produce more products and export it to the countries, and they import less, while the rest of the countries is tend to import the Chinese products. So as the production is more in China, the carbon dioxide emitted from this country is also more. And this timeline says that since 1990, carbon dioxide level is keep on increasing is in the increasing trend, and is actually a more than a double. So you might think whether taxes would be the only solution, or whether no other problem, whether no other global concern is on the climate change. There are many organizations like OECD, and weather conferences and protocol is also taking place. Like first, we would say about the OECD. It is an organization for economic cooperation and development, which came into force in 1961 with its headquarters in Paris, France. But their main objectives is to get the highest sustainable economic growth, sound economic expansion, and to expand the world trade. As the world we know is majorly concerning about the economy, but there is a least concern about the environment. And as few of us would know about the Paris Conference, of course, which came into effective from 2016, and it's actually a flexible framework, and it is same for all the both the developing and the developed countries. And their major target is to reduce 26 to 28% of the carbon dioxide by 2025, and to keep the global average temperature well below 2 degrees Celsius. And of course, Kyoto Protocol was signed in 1997 with 192 parties, and both the Paris Conference and the Kyoto Protocol comes under United Nations Framework on Climate Change. India has also signed the second Doha Agreement, which took place in Doha, which is between time period from 2012 to 2020. But the major difference between the Paris Conference and the Kyoto Protocol is that Kyoto Protocol mainly focuses on the developed countries, but the Paris Conference is both for the developing and the developed countries. This may not be agreed by the few developed countries because carbon dioxide emitted by both the developed and the developing countries are equal, but they are rules on the developed countries alone. This made a developed country like United States to withdraw from the Paris Agreement in June 2017, and they have also listed few reasons like that it might undermine their economy, and it has many disadvantages in coming up with the industries with a possible solution. So the US has officially withdrawn from the Paris Agreement, and we might see that there is a many conferences on protocol, many talks, and many meetings are still going on to combat the climate change problems, but still they are not completely successful. Unless there is a price on a carbon, no one is going to care about that. So we shall see how eco tax has came. First, before to the eco tax, there was regulations. It means that when a particular substance is found to be harmful to the environment, the substance is either banned or limited to the certain extent. So, followed by that, it came the eco tax. It was given by Pigu because as he came up with the eco taxation, he said that the actual concept is to correct negative externalities. What is negative externalities? Of course, it is nothing but when a production of a good harms someone other than a buyer or a seller. It means that it affects the third party who's neither the buyer nor the seller. So that harmful effect is to be beared by either the producer or the if such kind of things happens, this production or consumer, this trade is complete a market failure because no one took into account that external damage they cause to the environment or to the third party. So they says that this eco taxation should be used to correct those negative externalities. And it came up with a hypothesis called double dividend hypothesis. As the name indicates, it has a double end. It means it should, of course, it has a main concern on the environment. It should reduce the carbon dioxide levels, and in turn, it should not affect the revenue to the government. Also, it should support the government also. And Finland was the first country to implement the eco tax in 1990. And if you go surf in Google, you might be knowing that Finland is one of the country who is collecting more taxes from the people. And ecotax is based on a principle called polluter pays principle, which, as the name indicates, the one who pollutes the environment is responsible for restoring the environment to the normal condition also. Not only that, he should pay certain amount to the victim of that pollution. And India has also adopted this according to the Environmental Protection Act 1986. And coming to the carbon tax, theoretically, it is nothing but how much effect of one unit emission of carbon dioxide has on a climate change. Here, we are taking into account only the environment and not the third party. And you might think that as the name says that is a carbon tax, it is only for the carbon dioxide, but it is not so. Other gases in the greenhouse effects such as methane, nitrous oxide, and chlorofluorocarbons is also taken into account in carbon dioxide. And the carbon tax actually comes as an indirect tax and more precisely on excise tax. As I said, there are various indirect taxes, but excise tax, carbon tax comes under the category of excise tax. It is so because what is an excise duty means if a government thinks the usage of a particular product has to be reduced or the particular product is found to cause some health risk or environmental damage or social damage to the environment. So they impose an excise duty for the product. You may for excise duty is available for tobacco also. So as carbon dioxide is causing environmental damage, so carbon tax has been included in the excise duty. This graph explains that the countries who have been following up the carbon tax. You might see the Finland, the first country who implemented the eco tax here in the 1990s itself, and there are many countries followed by Poland, Sweden, who are coming up with the carbon tax. And you might hear the term ETS. Few countries are not following a carbon tax. They in turn use the term ETS. It means emission trading system. What does emission trading system mean? If a particular industry is found to emit more amount of greenhouse gas emissions, so this amount will be collected as a tax and given to the emitter B or other industries who are producing their product with reduced greenhouse gas emissions. And the credit is sold to this company. So they think that this carbon dioxide emitted is bearing the cost of the other industries. And World Bank reported that about 40 countries use either carbon tax or carbon emission trading system. So they say that however, 40 countries though followed, still global greenhouse gases are being included in that. And before a country going into the carbon tax, they are following emission trading systems. So likewise, 88 countries are going to the emission trading systems, and if they also come under the carbon tax, so 56% of the global emissions would be completely taxed. You might see an example like Canada. In 2018, they imposed a national carbon tax, and they are saying that by 2022, their tax on a carbon would be about $39, which is quite high. And why, you might wonder why Canada is focusing on such carbon tax, because while comparing with the rest of the countries, they found that Canada is warming up twice as much as the rest of the countries. So they are mainly focusing to save their own country first. And how such eco tax can be calculated, or what are the factors we should really consider when calculating the eco tax? First, it should reflect the environmental damages. Environmental damages, for example, if an acid rain is caused and it affect a particular environment, in that environment there might be various elements such as the plants, the flora, the fauna, the biodiversity, etc. But various factors cannot be considered to calculate the eco tax. We should take one, either the particular animal or particular plant population, like that. A single factor should be taken into the account, and it should reflect the non-environmental externalities. It means that, as I said, it affect the third party and would cause certain diseases to the human beings also. So such cost should also be considered while calculating the eco tax. And the important one, it should not affect the revenue to the government. So it should raise the revenue to the government, of course. And to encourage the producers or the innovators to come up with a good solution, we should provide subsidies and encourage them. For example, in European countries, they worked out a trial by applying a reduced value added tax rates. Those who purchase energy efficient refrigerators, and they came out with a very successful result, of course. They found that the carbon dioxide reduced 1.6 million tons over an average 15-year life. So these say that the consumer subsidies is also playing an equal or a vital role to encourage the producers and imparting the carbon tax. And how a carbon eco tax is calculated either by fuel based approach or emission based approach. What I mean by fuel based approach is how much amount of fuel or coal is taken for using in the thermal power plants or some other industries. And emission based means how much amount of carbon dioxide is emitted by burning that coal. That carbon dioxide level is taken into account. So this is actually the source. Fuel based means source is taken into the account, but in the emission based, amount of carbon dioxide or other greenhouse gases that has been emitted is taken into the account. And there are many complications in calculating such eco taxes. For example, there are various and more amount of goods are being produced across the world, and it is very difficult to find who actually produced the good or how it is produced, and there are many various factors. factors. And while coming to the greenhouse gases such as carbon dioxide or methane, different amount of gas when different amount of products like coal or natural gas is burned, the various amount of carbon dioxide is released into the environment. For example, coal is found to release more carbon dioxide than the natural gas. So estimating such type of marginal cost is quite difficult. And coming to the emission-based approach, while comparing the gases to a single number is very difficult. And greenhouse, though they are listed under greenhouse gases like carbon dioxide, methane, different gases trap different amount of heat, and they are stable in the environment for different period of time. For example, methane is found to be a much more potent greenhouse gas comparison with the carbon dioxide, but their persistent level is shorter when compared with the carbon dioxide. So, while making these factors into a single number or accounting these is very much difficult. And another problem is monitoring problem. While comparing with the methane and nitrous oxide, carbon dioxide, they say it can be easily monitored because mostly it is anthropogenic and industries are the one who are going to emit carbon dioxide. So it can be quite easily monitored. But tracking up of methane, which is, I mean, as of course we know that it is major from the agricultural field, and monitoring of the nitrous oxide is also very much difficult. But few scientists still suggest that it can be well achieved with the remote sensing technology. And coming to the carbon tax of our own country scenario, this Indian scenario, we Indian or India is basically a coal dependent country. We depend on coal and we are the largest consumer of coal, of course, for production or generation of the electricity, etc. So in 2010, government took an initiative to prevent overuse of high carbon intensive fuels. So they have fixed a certain amount. For example, they for starting they set it with rupees 50 for each metric ton of coal used in India. And as per the years past, they as of now they have been given. We have to pay a tax of rupees 400 for getting per ton of coal. And it is now included as a GST compensation cess. It is nothing but in addition to the GST per GST tax, we should pay an extra tax if we are getting such products like coal. And this is mainly fixed to, as a target to reduce the emission of carbon dioxide by 25% till 2022 in India. And we might be knowing that coal is not the only thing, or carbon dioxide, the coal is not the only thing where carbon dioxide is being emitted. Our own vehicles we travel or we use is also emitting or causing disturbances to the environment. So the green tax is levied in some of the states in India, where older vehicles are charged as the older engine has a very less efficiency comparatively, and this tax of course varies from state to state. In major metropolitan cities like Delhi, they have been charging environmental compensation charge will be imposed on the amount of pollutants and depend upon the vehicle size. And they are paying the new charges as the 1,400 and rupees 2,600, etc. And in Maharashtra also, when the older vehicles are tend to pay taxes, and you might think we are paying taxes for the coal, we are paying taxes for the vehicles, and we and India might be getting more amount because of this environmental taxes itself. Of course not. We are the fourth lowest country who are collecting taxes on the environment among the 34 OECD countries and 5 partner economies. In GDP wise, we can say that it is less than a percent of GDP, and the other countries their average is better, more 2%. And and on energy basis we are getting only 50%, and while other countries on average get 70%. See, this graph says that we are in the fourth lowest environment tax revenue is collected, while Denmark collect more revenue in the environmental taxes. And this graph says that we are collecting or we are focusing mainly on transport taxes, but heating and process, it means that by burning coal, the thermal electricity production, such taxes are very less in our country. So this might be also one of the reason why we are in the still in the fourth lowest environment related tax revenue system. So this says that These are the effective carbon rates in India. It is nothing but 47% of the carbon is emitted without any price at all. So we are just emitting without any restrictions. And in the across the world, the scenario is furthermore 60% of the emissions is being emitted without any price list. And coming to our subject, that is our point, that is from the fishing vessels. This is based on a study published in Marine Fishing Policy. They say that the scientists showed that about 207 million tons of carbon dioxide were released into the atmosphere in 2016 alone, which is actually equal to the carbon dioxide emitted from 51 coal-fired power plants. And you might think where the carbon dioxide is actually emitted. This is mainly from the marine fishing sector because marine fisheries actually relies on the fossil fuel to catch the fishes. And of course, we know that year by year, marine fisheries catch is of course reducing, but the carbon dioxide emitted from the marine fisheries sector is keep on increasing. This is because this is you might think this might be due to the industrial fishing or deep sea fishing, something like that, but it is not. It is because of the small fishers like artisanal and subsistence fisheries. They have all started to install gasoline powered engines on their boats, and those engines have less fuel efficiency, and they equally release more amount of carbon dioxide in the environment with that of industrial fishing. But even though more amount of equal amount of carbon dioxide is released from industrial fishing. For example, in 207 million tons, about 159 million tons of carbon dioxide is emitted from the industrial fishing. But of course, they catch more fishes than these subsistence or artisanal fisheries, but they equally contribute in emitting the carbon dioxide from their vessels or from their boats. So it is clear that we are wasting a huge amount of energy just to get the small amount of fish and polluting the environment enormously. So it is actually it is in the hands of the policy maker to reduce the fleet or keep monitoring the fleet and to find the efficient engine capacity to keep look on the efficient engine capacity, etc. And these are the few articles saying that carbon dioxide emissions from the fishing boats is 30% higher than previously reported. When previous reports in when it was taken in 2011, they said that global contribution of carbon dioxide emission was less than 1%. It is 0.2%. But new report says that it actually crossed that twice. It means above 2%. So we are contributing more carbon dioxide emission from the fishery sector. So this statistics report says that in fisheries in India alone consume as much as 1378.8 million liters of fuel and release 3.13 million tons of carbon dioxide. And a researcher named Amala Sajiva has took a research on carbon dioxide emission from the 275 trawlers in Thoothukudi, and they found that for about 458 tons of carbon dioxide is emitted. And they also came up with a beautiful suggestions like it can be further reduced by 40% by optimizing the trawl design and reducing the free running speed and free running duration and trawling speed. And the fishing vessels in general consume 20 liters of diesel per day on an average when comparing with the other vessels. But even though when in comparing with other sectors or thermal energy sectors, the carbon dioxide released from the fishery sector is quite less, but about 99% or 99% is completely taxed from the fishery sector. It's because we pay an excise duty to the government. As I said earlier, excise duty is imposed to a product where the government thinks that consumption of that product has to be reduced. So they import a central excise duty to the petroleum or fuel products. So indirectly, the fishery sector we are paying taxes to the government for polluting the environment. And as of present 2020, excise duty on petrol is currently 21.16 per liter, while on diesel it is 15.83 per liter. And this article says that we even though we are coming up with a better production report, etc., there are still an unreported fishing, and there is a lack of monitoring of the ships that are entering in the high seas. So that ships should also be considered, and if so, everything is considered on account. They say that carbon dioxide emitted from all the ships and all the marine fishery sector, which would be much more higher than the reports. In this graph explains that we are collecting tax rates, or there is an effective carbon tax rate for the domestic fishers, while on international fishers or international ships the reports are nil. Other than other than the atmosphere, we are polluting the aquatic environment by dumping up the waste, plastics, lead acid batteries, chemical pesticides, etc. But government has also imposed an excise duty on that, which is actually replaced as GST once it came. As we are paying about 18% of GST, which are polluting the environment. And what are they actually doing with the taxes? People think they are collecting as an eco taxes, so they must focus on the environment related goals or encourage the consumer subsidies like that. But actually, their developing countries face a major economic crisis, and they use that money for that problems also. So it is still in the dilemma where it should be addressed or where it should be solved properly. And there are various benefits, like it will raise the revenue to the government. It is very much clear that, and it will reduce or cut the other taxes. As I said earlier, people taxes on people are very much high, but on products it is very much low. But when it came to a balanced, it will be there will be reduction in some other taxes. And the both comes under the double dividend hypothesis. And for in the government sector, it could reduce the budget deficit problems also, and it will be ultimate. They say that it will be ultimate benefit to the public. And even though we talk that carbon tax might be the only solution for combating the climate change problems, but there are still a controversial going on, because it would affect the country's GDP, especially the developing countries. And they say that it is a benefit to the large industries, but lower middle class industries or small scale industries cannot pay such high amount of taxes for buying the coal, etc. So few countries still criticize the environmental taxation. For example, we can see um, this picture. You can see a lady is in the pool, and it is named as Australia. And there's a dirt called carbon tax. And one man is looking, and a few countries like USA, UK, China, India, and Canada are trying to escape from that pool. And this lady is nothing but Julia Ellen Gillard. She's an Australian former politician and 27th Prime Minister of Australia. She was the one who introduced the carbon pricing in 2012. Even though she came up with a better result that reduced the carbon dioxide emissions 7% to 7%, dropped 7% rapidly, but the people were very unhappy, and they found very much difficult in tackling such high amount of carbon taxes. And the man looking is actually an opposition party leader who forced or pushed or created many problems in removing the carbon tax. So she was forced to reappeal such carbon pricing or carbon tax in 2014. And actually, they also replaced it with emission trading system. As I said earlier, the one who causing more pollution to the environment will be collected taxes or imposed taxes, and will be given to the one who are producing their product with the ecological sustainable manner. So it clearly tells us that developed nation like Australia is facing a several problem and hindrances in implementing the effective carbon taxes. So developing nations like us, like India, where the industrial revolution plays a vital role in attaining the developed status. So unless an innovative solution is found, or shifting the industries to an eco-friendly way, the imposing a carbon tax would be a very much difficult. And here we could see an article which was published in Economic Times in October 23, 2019. This article says or suggests that India must focus on carbon taxing to achieve its climate goals. And previously we said that India is also contributing more carbon dioxide emission. That is about 6% of all the major carbon emitting countries. But within 2 to 3 months, there was an article December 31, 2019, the government said that it is going to waive off or remove the carbon tax on coal. This clearly says that we the developing nations, are find very much difficult to pay such amount of high taxes, and so better solution has to still to be arrived to impose the carbon tax. And this picture says that this actually funny picture. This I say in the 2016 solution to tackle up the climate change problems. But he this scientist says that if he had a time machine, he would have jumped back to 50 years, and he says that he would have made mandatory to be priced so that we could have tackled the climate change problems. So there are many problems faced on imposing the carbon tax, but carbon tax be the only solution for combating the climate change. So an to alternative solution to produce a product with less carbon dioxide emission. And for coming to the fisheries sector, optimizing the fishing fleet, engine capacity, etc., should be found out, and carbon tax has to be imposed. Thank you. Hello.
Thank you, Ashwini. We have
Hello.
few questions. Hello, am I audible? Hello,
Okay.
yeah, am I audible?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, thank you so much. And we have few questions, so I would like to ask you the question. First question is from Anil, Mr. Anil Kumar. He's asking, is any tax or punishment for burning of
Yeah.
gar- garbage in the public places in India? Basically,
No, I can't hear you properly.
Mr. Anil Kumar have a question. Are you able to hear me?
Yeah.
Ah,
Yeah.
yeah. He's asking, is any tax or punishment for burning of garbage in public places? Is there any
As far
punishment
as
or?
as far
Hmm,
as I know, people are burning next to my street. Also, I don't find any punishment given to them. Hmm.
yeah, this is a problem with the whole India actually, I think.
Yes.
Okay. The next question is from Arifa Mondal. She's asking, what is remote sensing?
We remote sensors. Me remote sen- Actually, it means that sensors can be fixed to monitor how much amount of carbon dioxide is being emitted. Actually, sensors can be fixed. I mean by that.
Okay. A third one is from Dr. Balakrishnan. How can we control carbon dioxide emissions from fishing vessels?
As I said, by finding more efficient, by optimizing the engine capacity, and there is in fishing there is a free running period and all, so it should be taken into account and it should be controlled.
Okay.
They leave the
Uh,
fishing vessels for the very long time while catching the fishes and all. So like that.
okay. From Mr. Ravish Yadav, he is asking, even though developed and developing countries both are the part of Paris Agreement, still America leave Paris Agreement. Why?
Because they think it is not a fair agreement that they are separating the as a developed and developing countries for emitting the carbon dioxide.
Okay.
Developed and developing country are equally contributing to the carbon dioxide emissions, and why they are focusing on developed country alone, and that that undermines their economy also. So this might be the reason they left from the Paris Agreement.
Okay. The next is from Mr. Shrisan Shram Kuti. He's asking what are the harmful effects that occurs due to the global warming to fish and aquatic ecosystem.
Yeah, this due to global warming, there are many factors like sea level rise will of course cause warming up of the ocean and ocean acidification, and there are many factors which could affect the fish and aquatic ecosystem.
Mr. Ravi Yadav, he has another question. Isn't this isn't this taxation affect the small fishermen livelihood? Who how can they will tackle this situation?
Yeah, this is very good question. Actually, small fishermen cannot tackle this tax issues, but we should optimize their engine capacity with less carbon dioxide is being emitted. Like that, we should come up with a better solution to optimize that engine capacity and alternative fuel like that.
Okay. The next one is from Vignesh Khanna. He's saying there is any eco taxes for carrying oil tankers by ship in ocean?
Good taxes. I think for emitting carbon dioxide for fuel based, not for carrying, I think, but for how much amount is used for that, they might pay taxes. They might. I'm not sure about that.
Okay. Mr. Aviram Nagar, he's asking, can we extract the carbon dioxide from emissive gas as dry ice cubes?
Actually, it is a research. I think I don't know. I did not come up with such findings till now. It might be. I'm not sure.
Okay. Uh, NCC Stoy, he asking, is the eco taxation applicable to different sectors in India?
I think it is applicable to all the vessels. Hello?
Hello, yeah. Am I audible?
Yeah, you're audible.
I continue. You can continue. Okay. The next,
Yes, I could see the question
yeah,
actually.
I,
What would be the major steps taken towards to
mm,
aware fisher folks about the taxation scheme?
yeah.
Would be the major steps taken towards aware the fisher folks about the taxation scheme? Just an awareness program, and however, it is a very people can't understand or know about taxes. Of course, we cannot make them understand the taxation scheme, but we should make them sure that they should be aware of how much amount of carbon dioxide is image they are making to the environment. At least we can't explain the taxation scheme entirely to the layman, but we can say about create awareness about the climate change or carbon dioxide effects, something like that. There is a factory in Tuticorin which is doing the process. I heard about it. What process? Oh, carbon dioxide from emissive gas. Um, I'm not. I don't know about that.
Okay. If anyone of you
I,
wants to ask question, you can
but
mute
Mr.
your mic.
Alimam Nagar, I will surely get your answer.
Okay. So any more question? If anyone wants to ask question, they can unmute yourself and ask the question directly to Ashwini. Uh, I think we don't have any other further questions, so let's wind up the session. So I would like to say thank you to Ashwini that you have taken out your time and share your knowledge, your research with us. It was very important environment and affect the carbon dioxide and other things on the fisheries. Thank you to all the attendees for the patience listening, and hope we are going to continue this type of session.
Yeah, of course, I would like to thank you.
Okay, so let's wind up and see you in our next session.
Thank this foundation for giving me such an opportunity.
Okay, thank you
Thank
so much,
you.
Ashwini. Okay, we have one more question. So, if there is any idea for alternative reuse of carbon dioxide released from vehicles? I think it is a very good question.
Alternative reuse of carbon dioxide released from vehicles. But actually, how we will trap the carbon dioxide first? First, we should think about that. How we could collect those carbon dioxide, and if the solution is found for that, we could come with some other idea for reusing those.
Okay, then thank you to all of you for patient
Okay,
listening.
thank you.
Stay safe and stay at your home. Hope to see all of you next time. And thank you so much. And good night to all of you.